Hey everybody! Computer issues are so much fun. Welcome to the Horror Syndicate Discourse. It's Tuesday night. We switched nights from Thursday, and now we're on Tuesday for anybody who has been missing out, and we have been for a few weeks now. Tonight's episode is going to be 25 directors who have directed a horror film, the top 25, or top 25 horror directors, whichever way you want to look at it. We are two people short, but it seems like we're short every week anymore, right?
I'm still 6'2", so good.
You know what? I don't want to hear that. I'm not even going to say how tall I am, but compared to that, it's pretty pathetic. But we've got 25 directors, very good directors. We've got 5 honorable mentions. We had pictures, but my computer is being my best friend today.
And this will be my last show because none of you fuckers voted for me.
Oh. Oh,
I've made 6.
It's a crap. Yeah.
You're 26 on my list.
I'm 26th. I'm right behind Guillermo Del Toro. I'm always behind Del Toro. Takes a lot of space up.
Is that number 25?
I don't know.
Yeah, I have the list here. It's going to be a mess today because Del Toro is 26 on our list.
Yeah, see, you took my spot.
Yeah. But I can't get the pictures because Facebook isn't working for me right now. But anyway, I don't know. Anybody who wants to donate about $800 to me to help me get a new computer, that'd be perfect. Then I can do the show without a problem, hopefully. I wonder if I could use a Chromebook. Because those are cheaper, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So anyway, we're supposed to be starting out. Well, before I want to mention next week we're going to talk about the Evil Dead trilogy. Could you call it a trilogy?
Yeah,
the Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness. Those 3 movies. So make sure you tune in next week, and the following week will be. I don't know if we're going to be able to make a whole show out of it, but we're going to spoil review the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie that's coming on Netflix on February 18th, I believe. So that'll be fun, depending on whether or not we like it. I don't own a computer owner. That's weird. Where do you live? That's weird to me. It seems like everybody has internet service. Okay, so I got the list right here. Let's go over our honorable mentions while I still try to save these pictures to come up. I have the list. The first one is Fede Alvarez. Is that the right way to say it?
I believe so.
Or is it Fede?
I don't know. Yeah, we just so people know before they start griping, this was a collective. Everybody voted their 25 favorites, and we kind of compiled it in order. So these are ours. We're not saying these are the best filmmakers of all time that have, and it's anyone who's done a horror film. It's not necessarily known as horror. Like you could be someone who made one horror film. But that's the thing. Like some of the very best horror films were made by filmmakers who only made one horror movie or 2 horror films.
Yeah.
Fede, yeah, Alvarez.
The one that pops up immediately to my head, of course, is Evil Dead from 2013, which I think is a fantastic movie. It's my favorite Evil Dead movie overall, which might surprise the 4 people watching. I love it. It's really good. I'm wondering like how much influence he's gonna have on. Did he direct the new Texas Chainsaw?
He's like producer or something.
Producer, yeah. I wonder how much influence he's gonna have on that.
Not sure. I mean, he's a really talented filmmaker. I've liked everything he's done. Like Don't Breathe was good, and I really liked his Girl with the Dragon Tattoo sequel. I thought it was really excellent. So he's a filmmaker to keep an eye on. But yeah, Evil Dead, the remake, is one of the best horror remakes in my opinion.
I agree, but is it a remake or is it?
It's a requel, I guess.
Well,
It's a reboot of the series, is what I think it was supposed to be, right? I felt like we were going to get to see Jane take on that role again, which is ridiculous because her performance is as good as any horror performance I've seen. Like she's incredible in that movie, and she's always good. But that movie especially kind of drives me nuts when people just dismiss this movie.
Yeah, I don't understand why. Why would they just dismiss the movie? It's really, really good. I think Seth even liked it. No? Seth, can you hear us?
What?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I didn't hear the last part you said. That's all.
I said I think even Seth likes it.
Oh yeah, I love it. It was nice to see it go back to its horror roots. You know, go back to the original film, which was straight horror, and they did that again. I really liked the story. I liked some of the characters in it. I liked how that one guy he got his ass kicked throughout the entire movie. Like everything bad happened to him was great.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good movie. I'd like to do an episode on that movie at some point. I said that in the chat, and I'll say that to you fine viewers out there if you're watching. Next is Park Chan-wook. Park Chan-wook.
Park Chan-wook, South Korean filmmaker. He most known for the Vengeance trilogy. The Vengeance films, especially Old Boy, sometimes get considered horror, but he did direct a movie called Thirst, which is a really excellent vampire film.
I was gonna say that has vampire written all over that title.
Yeah, and he did there's a great Asian horror anthology series called Three Extremes, and he directed a short in the first one called Cut, which was really good. This is one of the best filmmakers around, really. He's like, if you haven't seen Old Boy or Lady Vengeance or Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance or JSA or the guy Stoker, that was kind of a horror film. The one these American language film they did with Nicole Kidman. So yeah, he's up. I think Jared and I got him onto this honorable mention list. We're both like the Asian cinema guys, I think, in the group.
Yeah.
But Park is like, South Korea is finally getting its due with like when Parasite won. They've just been kicking ass for the last 15 years, and Park is kind of like one of the 3 best known, most successful out of them.
Yeah. I've seen a few South Korean Korean. I'm not sure if they're South or not, but Train to Busan comes to mind. The Wailing. There's a lot of cool stuff coming from there. The next one on the list would be number 28, Ty West. I'm pretty sure it's Ty West. I really like him. Is it T? I'm assuming it's Ty. Anyway, the first thing I saw was a segment on VHS, the first one, and he was his segment was really kind of good. It was The Second Honeymoon, and I really liked that, and I liked that movie because I went out, and Adam Wingard was a part of that too, and I went out and started trying to find these guys, and I found House of the Devil, The Innkeepers, The Sacrament, all 3 really good movies in my opinion. He's got a movie coming out called X.
Was House of the Devil the first one he did? Because that's the first thing I think I saw him
That one's 2009. I believe Innkeepers came shortly.
Innkeepers was after
House of the Devil.
I liked. I'd say House of the Devil is my favorite of his work.
Me too.
I did like. When I saw Innkeepers, I really loved the 2 leads. I said they should have their own series. I could see a television series with that with those characters, and I really liked The Sacrament. What did he do after The Sacrament? Has he done anything?
He's done a movie. He's done Cabin Fever 2, Spring Fever, which I haven't.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
And then in a Valley of Violence, which I've never seen that one either. I don't know.
Oh, that's the Western, right? I haven't seen that. Is that what that is? I think Ethan Hawke, maybe. Or
yeah.
Yeah, I need to see that one. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it was 2016, and he's got one coming up. And he was also in You're Next. He played Tariq, the boyfriend. So
With a scarf.
yeah, with the scarf, he's kind of douchey in a way, or playing douchey, I'd say. I
Playing
like
himself, I
Tyrus.
guess.
Underrated, and he's an up and comer. He's my age. That bugs me. Number 27 is Ridley Scott. I don't think Ridley Scott needs any introduction. We know who that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
One of the great filmmakers. It's kind of a shame he didn't make the top 25, but that's how it goes.
That's probably my fault. I'm not a huge Alien fan. I like it. I understand it. I realize it's a great movie, but I've never been a big fan of the movie. I know that might come as a shocker, but I also don't like Shocker. So what are you gonna do? Was he on your list, Graf?
Yeah.
Okay, I finally got Facebook to work, so maybe I can get some of these images. Cool. Anything else you want to expand on that?
I figure we're rushing through them, right? With these honorable mentions.
Honorable mention number 26. Our next one is Guillermo Del Toro. He's done a lot of really cool stuff. What's the first thing come to mind?
First thing that comes to mind, probably the Hellboy films, but my favorite is probably Pan's Labyrinth or Shape of Water. It's between those two. I did start Nightmare Alley, but I haven't been able to finish it yet because my wife and daughter were kind of falling asleep. It's 2.5 hours long, and it's a noir. It's not very it's not exciting. It's just very beautiful, like all of his movies are.
Yeah, that's on my queue. I think it's on HBO Max right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one I definitely want to check out. Is it a horror movie or is it just a movie?
I think it was a novel. I think it's a pulp novel, and it's a remake. They made the film before, so it's not really horror. It's a neo noir film. It's like dark crime. It's got a lot of Del Toro stuff in it, where it's set at a carnival, like with carnies and stuff. And
carnies.
Hell of a cast. Willem Dafoe and Bradley Cooper and Toni Collette, and Kate Blanchett, and Rooney Mara, Ron Perlman. Yeah, it's a beautiful film, like visually, art direction wise.
Yeah, I've seen the Hellboy movies and the Shape of Water and the Pan's Labyrinth. I saw one time, and I barely remember that. But he was attached to do the Hobbit movies for a long time, but that fell through. I'm kind of glad. I don't think his vision would have meshed with what Peter Jackson did. I don't know. Could have. Who knows? I can't save these images. God damn it. I don't know what's going on with my computer. I finally got the pictures up, so I can probably just show them to you by sharing the screen, which is probably good enough, right? Let's just say that's good enough today. Could you hear that noise?
Mm-hmm.
You know what that means, right? My computer is kind of frozen. So, that was our 5. Okay, I'm just going to do it that way. I'm having too much trouble with it. So let's go with our number 25. I'm frustrated, so I apologize. I'm just going to share the screen and we'll just talk over it. Is that cool?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think this is the number 25. Let me look at the list because you sent them to me in order, I believe, right? Robert Eggers is number 25.
Yeah.
All right, hold on one second. God. I even got going early to try to get this together, Bugs me. Here. There you go. Is it showing it yet? There we go. Okay, talk, Nate, because I don't know.
Okay, he said number 25 is Robert Eggers. who's probably best known. Well, I don't know if he's best known for The Witch at this point or The Lighthouse. Probably The Witch. I think The Witch was the movie that, for me at least, blew me away. Like I got to see it in theaters, and it's just it's up there arguably with my favorite horror films of the last decade. Not my favorite. I think the guy just super talented, and he's got a passion for classic cinema. There's a lot of he wants to do. I think he's doing Nosferatu next.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And his new movie, the Northman, looks insanely good.
Yes,
and
it does.
The Lighthouse was just another world. It was really incredible. And again, The Witch. I've loved both of his films, so I'm really excited to see Northman, and his Nosferatu is probably going to kick ass.
Yeah, I bet it does. Well, I like The Witch quite a bit. The first time I watched it, we've talked about The Witch. We have done an episode. I think it was in 2020. But I didn't like it because of the talking heads behind me. But after 2 times of seeing it, and the third time even better, I really like the movie. I definitely need to see The Lighthouse. Jared's with us, by the way. Here he is.
Hey,
Welcome
Jared.
for joining.
And we're all on the side of the screen, which is kind of cool, right? Sorry for that.
I was having
all the
computer problems too.
My computer's acting like a dickhead. So I have to do this. We'll have to make do. Anyway, Seth, anything to say? Have you seen this? I don't know which way this is going to go.
Yeah, I've seen The Witch. I liked it. I liked the way it felt kind of authentic to the time. I thought, very good movie. I haven't seen The Lighthouse yet.
Last I checked, it was streaming on Amazon.
We need to do an episode. We need an episode on The Lighthouse, because that's a movie that we could really get into.
Yes.
All right.
This guy, I mean, he's one of those filmmakers, like another person that's on this list, that is generally dismissed because he's part of the elevated or new post horror or whatever that bullshit they're calling it now.
Not post Let's leave that die in 2017.
Yeah. This guy, he's a big fan of like Bergman, and the attention to detail that he put into The Witch and The Lighthouse, for that matter, as far as period accuracy, like he was so painstakingly anal about it, to just dismiss someone who's taken their craft and their art that seriously.
Jared, is that you?
Yeah, it's my phone. Sorry.
Get shut down for the Jason noises.
Jason's coming to get us.
Yeah. Oh, I'm interested in seeing, plus the cast of the Lighthouse, which is pretty much just Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much, yeah.
Willem Dafoe, who should be the Joker. Yeah. So check those movies out if you haven't seen them. Is The Witch streaming anywhere? Do you know?
Thank you.
We don't have the streaming boy on here today.
Oh my goodness. I'm just going to enjoy this hot cup of Joe with my coffee mug.
Where's the coffee mug? Okay, anyway, so the next one is Don Coscarelli, if it ever shows up. Oh, God, this is the worst.
There he is.
Okay. Feel bad for
he's got computer problems too, apparently.
Yeah, he looks. I saw the picture last night. Like, man, he looks bored. I wonder what scene they're filming here. Seriously.
So who wants to talk about Don?
I was gonna say, you can see the two main actors just sitting in the background, like, when are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Seth, I think, is the biggest Phantasm fan here, so I think Seth should take this one.
Yeah, I love the four I almost said Hellraiser. I love the 4 Phantasm films that he made, and especially part two. Part two is my favorite, and it was kind of interesting to see him with a reasonable sized budget to work with. He did really well with it. And then I also love, John dies at the end. Bubba Hotep, I hear is a good one. I haven't actually seen it.
Oh man,
Beastmaster.
You got to see Bubba Hotep.
Yeah,
Joe,
Bubba Hotep's
Joe,
awesome.
Yeah.
Joe Lansdale.
Yeah, but
This is the
I love Coscarelli. No, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No, I was like, this is the first one on the list that I've met. I got to do my first kind of real artwork that kind of put me on the map was a cover for Horror Hound magazine, like 2009, and it was a Phantasm cover. It had Tall Man on it, and Don was a big fan of it and wanted like permission to use it on his website. So when I met him, I gave him that artwork, and he invited me to sit down with him, so I hung out with him at his booth for a while. And Jared mentioned it. I grew up on the Beastmaster. I watched that damn movie. Anyone who grew up in the early 80s or mid 80s saw that movie 1,000 times. So he gave me like a free signed Blu-ray copy of the Beastmaster on his table because of that. But yeah, I like Phantasm. I can't say I'm as big a fan as a lot of people are. I do like the second one, I think, the most. But when it comes to his films, The Beastmaster is definitely my favorite film. And it's not really a horror film, although it does have some horrifying moments in it. Like I remember as a kid, the winged creatures, and the berserker people, they kind of creeped the shit out of me when I was little. But yeah, I like Don. I think he's one of the pure independent filmmakers on this list.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen Beastmaster, and I feel weird now saying that after hearing you guys talk about it. I think I've seen bits and pieces of it, but yeah, as far as Coscarelli goes, I like the things I have seen, which are the Phantasm 4 movies, Bubba Hotep, and not seen John Dies at the End yet, but I've owned it for like 3 years, so there's that.
Kenny and Company's real fun too. The movie he
man.
made before Phantasm.
I gotta watch a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, I've got like a stack about who knows how high of shit I need to watch.
What was the one movie? Didn't he make the one with Lance Henriksen? Like something Quest? Or,
Survival Quest.
Survival Quest. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
I never saw that one either.
I grew up with that movie.
Yeah, I remember seeing that quite a bit. I always get it mixed up with the Kevin Bacon, Meryl Streep one because they're kind of similar. But yeah, I love
the
River Wild or whatever. Yeah, I always mix them up. But yeah, the I love Lance Henriksen, and that was a good one.
I always forget about Survival Quest. I always forget about it.
Yeah.
Oh, he's 6'4". He's taller than you, Nate.
He's a tall dude. He was sitting down when I met him, though.
Oh.
And I did see him at Texas Frightmare. They had a whole reunion. So Reggie and all of them were there. Michael and
that's who I want to meet.
Angus, and Angus was right across from me.
Okay, so next is Cronenberg. Wow. The picture is
a tiny picture.
I forgot. I think I forgot to put him on my list. I saw him on the final list. I was like, "Oh shit!" I think I left Cronenberg off. And the
I know there's somebody I forgot off my list too.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite movies of the '80s, and it's one of my top 50 of all time favorite horror movies. And I left him off my list. Plus, he did Rabid and a host of other horror films, but those two are two of my favorites. And I left him off the list. He should have been hired. I failed, David. God damn it! I can't have coach trouble today.
So who did have him on there? Jared and Seth.
I had him on mine.
Yep.
Yeah. He's a good director too. I feel bad. He could have been in the teens if it not for me.
I feel I'm kind of the weirdo. Go ahead, Seth. You voted for him.
I'm sorry. I must be some sort of delay here.
Yeah.
I like same as Ray. Like I love The Fly. It's one of my favorites. Period. And I also love Rabid. I also love his performance in Nightbreed.
I forgot.
History of Violence is really good. Videodrome, like he's just a really good director, and I need to actually buy all his films.
Yeah, I bought Rabid without seeing it when it came from Scream Factory. I had never seen it, and man, it was so good. Great performances all around for that movie, and the ending always kind of gets to me a little bit when I just love it, and he's a great director, I think.
I'm like one of those odd guys where I'm not big on body horror, so I don't like what's probably his most popular. Like when I think about my favorites, it's usually A History of Violence or The Dead Zone.
Yeah, The History of Violence really surprised me.
The Dead
That movie was awesome.
Yeah, but I do like The Fly. I didn't watch that a lot as a kid, but I watched it a while back and just like, wow, this was so good. I missed out on not watching this over the last 30 years. Like I'd seen it, but once or twice.
We should do a Cronenberg show sometime. I think that'd be fun. Maybe not. You guys let me know.
I think so.
Well, Jared, tell me about Cronenberg. Why did you put it on your list?
Well, obviously because of The Fly. Nate brought it up too, though. Like he has a penchant for body horror, which a lot of people kind of have an adverse effect to, but he does it in a way where it doesn't completely gross you the fuck out, I guess.
Yeah, I could say that. He's not. It doesn't seem like his intentions are to gross you out.
Yeah, like he definitely is. He does try to
Grundle's
repulse you a little
gross you
bit,
out?
but it's not like he's trying to scare you away with his stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's an intelligent filmmaker. It's not for shock value.
Speaking of shock value, next on our list at number 22 is Dario Argento. Jared and I both put him on the list, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure if anybody else did, especially being at 22. I feel like if three people did, it'd be up higher. Jared, you start off with Argento because you're the one who kind of got me going into watching Italian horror and Argento stuff.
Yeah, I mean, for those that aren't privy to his work, like he was one of the ones that kind of kickstarted the whole giallo subgenre back in the early 70s with
Sergio Martino,
Bird with a Crystal Plumage. Yeah, they
Mario
all kind of
Bava.
jumped onto the bandwagon after that point. But if it wasn't for his types of movies in the early 70s, I don't think we would have the slashers that we had necessarily in the 80s. I mean, we would have had them, but not necessarily all of them in the ways they were done, because
some filmmakers
we've done this on a previous podcast, but giallo's definitely like you have a black gloved man that stabs somebody, you can't see his face, you don't know who the killer is till the end. Like
giallos are kind of slashers; they're like the precursor to slasher.
Yeah, I mean they are whodunits down to the core, but I mean for the same part they also like. They had a hand in slashers as we know them.
Was it a gloved black hand?
Mm-hmm. I didn't vote for him, but it's not because I don't respect him. Like he's obviously one of the probably 10 best horror film directors. There's something about there's no one like Argento, and I've started to. I didn't really love his work growing up, but I've turned to more where I do have an appreciation for his artistry because it's like bar none. Like when I watch Suspiria or Inferno, I'm just in awe of the visuals and the marriage of sound and image that he gets, and just this dream world. I feel like I'm in another fucking world when I watch his movies.
Have you ever seen Phenomena?
Yeah, that one as well. Like the one that I originally like connected to was Deep Red, probably because it wasn't as dreamy and weird.
I think that's his masterpiece.
But I do lean towards. I do still love that one, but I do lean towards Inferno and Suspiria just because of the damn artistry that's there on display. It's just like unique, really unique stuff.
Suspiria is this big one, and it's really between the music, between the visuals, his use of color. Argento really I feel like especially in Giallo and maybe even overall, he kind of stands in a class of his own with his filmmaking style.
I think he's the best of the Italian filmmakers. I may be wrong in some of that, but I
no, you're not. He is.
I think he's the best of them. Yeah,
he is. He's not my favorite because when we get there, I do like some of these other ones because I saw a lot more of Bava when I was younger, before Argento, and because I saw Suspiria in my teens, I'm like, what the fuck is this, and I didn't quite understand it. And some of Bava's movies were more, as like Black Sunday and Black Sabbath, I could understand them a little bit better than what was going on in Suspiria. And it took me into my 30s after meeting Jared. Jared's like, oh, watch Deep Red, watch Phenomena. Well, Brian Enright was the one who kept telling me to watch Phenomena. And I watched Inferno, and Inferno became one of my favorites of all time. So yeah, I love Argento. I do think he's in a class of his own. He even among his other, like Sergio Martino and some of these other guys, Lucho Fulci. And do we offend Jared? I always offend him.
Guess so.
But anyway, moving on because we do have a lot to get to still. Next up on the list is Shaun of the Dead director. I almost like Quentin Tarantino.
Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright.
Yeah, which we did. I was just thinking of him because his new film Last Night at Soho owes a lot to Argento. Owes a lot to Argento and Italian giallo films.
That's what's attracting me to it too.
It's phenomenal. Like I don't know if that. I mean, my favorite film he's done has been Baby Driver, and I really loved Scott Pilgrim, and of course his Cornetto trilogy. So, Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz actually has some horror elements to it. It kind of is a slasher film mixed with a 80s buddy cop movie.
And Timothy Dalton gives one of his best performances.
Yeah, I love Timothy Dalton.
It's always bad.
But I think Edgar is one of our best filmmakers. He hasn't made a bad movie yet, in my opinion. I think he is, like, as far as someone who his editing and his transitions and things, like, this is a guy who really thinks about every shot and every frame and in music. Like on Baby Driver, he wouldn't even write a scene until he had the right song to write it to, because everything's to the music.
Yeah,
and it's edited to the music, and they would be on set watching it back to make sure it lined up, and they were editing on the set as they were shooting it to get it right. He's a guy that challenges himself that way. With Last Night in Soho, there's a lot of old school camera tricks and old school filmmaking tricks, and it's totally a love letter to a different era of filmmaking, and I really dug it.
It's on my list of movies to not just see. I'm probably going to buy that one without even blind buy, as I like to say, because it looks like it's right up my alley. You ever feel that way when you see a trailer like, ooh, this looks like it's right up my alley?
Yeah, we went and saw it at the theater. My daughter really liked it too.
Oh, she did? Awesome. Yeah, I didn't get the chance to, but I really wanted to see it in the theater. It looks like something you need to see in the theater. Okay. Anybody else want to say anything else on Quentin Tarantino? I mean, Steven Spielberg. I mean, that's right. Fuck. I'm looking at the list, and I'm having a bad day. I'm having a bad day, folks. Steven Spielberg, the director of Shaun of the Dead. Congratulations. All right. Can I just go to bed now and start tomorrow? Next up, there's Steven Spielberg. Spoiler alert, the director of my number 2 favorite horror film of all time.
Yep.
Jaws, obviously. What can we say about him? He's one of the best ever, period. I mean, not just in a horror film sense, but like ever to be a director. One of the best. I wish he would do a Star Wars movie, even to this day.
Yeah, Spielberg's. Like Jaws is in my top 5. Spielberg is one of my top 5 directors. I like the older I get, the more I appreciate his work more and more, and the way his style. This guy knows how to make movies, just plain and simple. And to make this movie Jaws, which was an unmakeable movie, really, to look at what he pulled off in that movie. I think Jaws is my favorite of his films. Actually, it used to be Raiders of the Lost Ark, but I think Jaws has edged its way past Raiders. But E.T. and we also talk about other horror films he did. He did Duel, which I love. He did Duel before Jaws, which is a horror film. People don't think of him as a horror guy, but he did make probably one of the most successful horror films ever made that changed cinema.
And depending on who you talk to, he may have directed Poltergeist.
And he may have directed Poltergeist. And he had his hand in Gremlins too. He was producer of Gremlins. So and he did Twilight Zone, the movie. And even though his segment's not really a horror segment, I think he was a producer on that as well. It was kind of his project. And he started out doing like Night Gallery and stuff like that for Rod Serling, and I believe he did stuff like that. I don't know if he did a Alfred Hitchcock Presents or not. I can't remember. But the guy can do any genre.
He's doing that too. Yeah.
I don't think he's made a Western yet, though, has he?
Him
and Scorsese. Or Scorsese's finally doing one, but
no, I don't know. That's a good. Wasn't Schindler's List a Western? Oh, that's a bad one to say. That was terrible. Sorry. I don't know. I can't think of one offhand, but yeah.
Canceled.
Yeah,
canceled.
Canceled, bro.
Whatever. Yeah, like Leatherface. Yeah. Do we want to say anything else about Steven Spielberg before we move on to the next one?
One of the best directors of all time.
Yeah. Nate, you said that somebody was your second favorite director of all time. Who was that?
The Coen brothers.
Okay, that was today. So who's your favorite?
Probably our next one.
Probably our next one.
I think today at least.
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell. You win, buddy.
Kurt Russell's one of my favorite actors of all time. So
you're a hell of a left fielder in the minor leagues, I heard too.
Yeah, Mr. Quentin Tarantino. I know he's one of the hated guys, and here he is looking at feet.
Why is he hated? Who hates him?
Very, very cliche. People just don't like Quentin because people think he's a thief, or because people say that he steals everything. And
George Lucas is a thief, then.
Well, all of them do. Like Coppola has said he does. Scorsese said he does. They all do. But the thing about Quentin is he tells you everyone that influences him, and he loves all of cinema. And it's like the thing about him is, if he's such a ripoff artist, why can you watch like 2 minutes of his movie and know it's Quentin Tarantino's movie? I mean, if you don't have a thumbprint on your work, then you won't be able to recognize if it's just somebody else's work. But it's his work. Because what makes his films great are not the little nods and the little homages. It's his characters and his dialogue is what really makes Quentin Tarantino.
Especially the dialogue is a big tell for him.
And he's just got a gift for it. And, technically he's only directed one horror film, which is this one, Death Proof, that was in Grindhouse. He wrote From Dusk Till Dawn and starred in it. But he's a big horror fan. I just listened to him recently on Eli Roth's podcast, and they were talking about sequels and horror in general. They were talking about he just started watching all the Hammer Frankenstein movies and like is in love with them and thinks that Peter Cushing's Dr. Frankenstein is like the best Dr. Frankenstein or the best mad scientist of all time. And
It's true.
I
It's very true.
Yeah, it is. He's very right. He said, he goes, he goes, it's a shame that we couldn't see Karloff's monster with Peter Cushing's Dr. Frankenstein, because those would have been the perfect marriage of the two characters. And
Yeah.
but this guy, I saw Reservoir Dogs my freshman year in college, 1994, my 6 months before Pulp Fiction opened, and I was just blown away. Reservoir Dogs changed my life. It's the first time I thought, man, I'd like to make movies one day. And I saw Pulp Fiction a few months later, True Romance, Natural Born Killers, all that year. So he's the one filmmaker that if he's got a new film, I'm there opening weekend, no questions asked. And I've loved everything he's done.
I think I have too. And
except for maybe Four Rooms.
You didn't like Four Rooms?
I didn't like Four Rooms that much.
I remember when that came out. That was one of those movies. Like, did you see Four Rooms yet? I had to go get it immediately, and I liked it.
You got fucked by an oven full of witches.
There's the stuff that he didn't do that's good. Like I love Robert Rodriguez's segment, Misbehaviors with Antonio Banderas, and I love everything Tim Roth does. And like you said, the scene with Marissa Tomei where he calls.
That would be my introduction to Robert Rodriguez, by the way.
Mine too.
So
I don't know. I probably saw From Dusk Till Dawn around that same time, but didn't realize it was Robert Rodriguez doing that segment.
Well, hold on.
I think Desperado was my first that I saw. Then I saw El Mariachi after seeing that one.
Yeah, me too.
How you say, do you like to dance?
Next up.
Did they misbehave?
Oh, wrong picture.
Yeah, wrong picture.
Same thing.
David Fincher.
How are you using that for lighting, by the way? I wanted to ask you that. Is it the setup?
Yeah, I was looking at the lighting, the fabric, and things like that. I just wanted to look at it. I came across it. I saw them blocking out light and shaping light, and I was like, I'm going to study this picture later. I got some scrims up and everything, so I just kind of wanted to look at it. But yeah, David Fincher, Seven, his second movie, fucking blew me away. If Silence of the Lambs counts, Seven counts. And Seven's one of my favorites. I know, Ray, you said it's one of your all-time faves.
Yeah, it is. I actually went in to see it in the theater by myself. Like, they sold me the ticket and everything. I was 14, I think. Like, oh, whatever. You got a little mustache, little peach fuzz. Come on in. Yeah, I walked out, and I said to myself, like, God damn it, if that wasn't a damn near a perfect movie. Seriously, I was extremely pleased. Never had the horror vibe from it, though. So to me, I don't count it, but you can.
So we talked about how Alien 3 is kind of a horror film.
I didn't know that one straight up is. It's listed. I remember watching that a few years ago after not seeing Alien 3 for I saw that in the drive-in, I think with Batman Returns or something like that. And I saw, can you turn that down, Jared? Like just mute it or something? And anyway, I saw it, I believe when I got the DVD box sets, I was like, holy shit. So Aliens was a fun-ass movie, but Alien 3 really kind of returned back to horror because there are some definite horror scenes in that movie for sure.
And The Game, I felt, was kind of a horror film.
Well, I just, when it comes down to it, this guy can direct his ass off.
Oh, he's one of the greats. He'll go down as one of the
Zodiac's one of my favorite movies.
100, yeah.
Period. It's God, that movie that was another one of those where I saw the trailer, I was like, ooh, this is for me. You know, and it was. I love every second of that. They could release a 6-hour cut and I'd watch the whole thing.
I mean, our last three guys will be on the 100 greatest horror or directors ever. Fincher, Tarantino, and Spielberg will always be up there. I love Zodiac. I love his girl with the dragon tattoo. He's Social Network, of course. The guys and the Fight Club. Fight Club's probably his most popular as far as the certain type of fan goes. It was a huge film for a lot of people.
It's awesome. Remember when I said earlier today, my film taste, I started understanding a film more when I saw American Psycho, Fear and Loathing, and Big Lebowski. Fight Club's right in there too. That'd be one of the fourth that really started changing the way I looked at movies. Because, when I was 18, and before that, I didn't really look at them the same way. That's why I missed out on something like a Fargo, like you were talking about, because I didn't give a shit about movies like that until after I saw those 4 movies.
This was also a defining role for Brad Pitt because before this, Brad Pitt had done like a lot
Legends
of
of the Fall.
Legend of the Fall, things like that. But this was the movie, I think, this and then Fight Club, and then stuff
Interview with
like
the
Snatch.
Vampire.
Yeah, well, it's like there was a certain he became a certain he was kind of known for that long-haired, almost romance novel, the heartthrob. But so when he played Mills in Seven, it was kind of going to a more, he cut off his hair and he's playing more. I mean, it was just a almost like David Fincher. Like Seven has a 1970s cop movie vibe to it, like a French Connection, Serpico kind of thing, where it's this dark and gritty film. The whole movie is fucking dark as shit. Yeah, I think there's only one scene where it's not raining.
Yeah, inside the library. Let's keep moving. Seven's a great movie. Most of his movies are great, and I like Alien 3, which I know a lot of people don't. Yeah, you do too. Seth, I think you said you liked it as well. Mm-hmm. Jared,
the director's cut especially.
Yeah, the director's cut. Yeah. Jared, this one's for you. And when you sent this picture, Nate, I looked at it, I'm like, who the fuck is this?
It looks like Chris Rock back there.
Well, like the guy on the right with the glasses, I'm looking at that. My eyes went straight to him for some reason. Yeah. I'm like, who is this guy?
The little guy?
I look at the list. I was like, that's not Fulci. I was like, does Nate know what he looks like? And I look at the picture again. I was like, there he is with the fucking cigar in his mouth. There he is.
I was looking at the guy with the pimp hat. It looks like Chris Rock back there.
Yeah. I mean, Lucho Fulci's number 17. That's all due to me and Jared. And Lucho Fulci, we talked about directors who are very versatile. He's extremely versatile. Most people probably recognize his work with Zombie and The Beyond and City of the Living Dead, the gore fest type movies. Yeah. But he dabbled in giallo. He's done some what was it, Conquest?
Well, I did one. I did a
sword and sorcery movie, Conquest. Yes.
I did a Blu-ray cover in France for his film Contraband, which was a gangster film.
Yep.
Which I really liked, and I like. I did Gates of Hell as well in Germany, I think. Yeah. No, it was an American release. Wasn't
it Arrow?
Code Red.
Code Red. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good looking release too. I want that cover. But yeah,
he also did like spaghetti western movies, and he did kids movies. He did a couple of White Fang movies.
That's kind of like the Italian, like they just pump out movies over in Europe. Especially like the Italians. I'm sure they all did a spaghetti western. I know like Argento worked on Leone films, didn't he? But like as far as crew and things.
Yeah.
So he did some of those like Eastwood, or like Once Upon a Time. I mean, he was on Once Upon a Time in the West. I think he worked on that. So they were a machine over there.
Fair delay. Yeah, so I love Fulci. I'm a big fan of his work, and it goes beyond the zombie stuff. Jared, why don't you say your piece before we move on?
Of course, yeah. Obviously, he's most known for Zombie. To me, my favorite movie of his is The Beyond, which is the second film of his Gates of Hell trilogy.
Really? I thought you'd say Don't Torture a Duckling.
Don't Torture a Duckling is definitely in my top 3 of his for sure. That's such an amazing giallo.
Mm-hmm.
And that just kind of shows you he has a huge, wide range, like Nate was saying, of what he can do. Like, yeah, he did dabble into the giallo like all the other Italian directors did, but he actually had a couple of them that fucking still stand the test of time. But then he also has a zombie movie that still stands the test of time, and then a couple other movies as well. Like, I don't think people really respect or understand what he has done over his career, and that's a shame to me.
Yeah, he's kind of the second second known zombie guy. I mean, really, after Romero, it's Fulci. There's nobody between them.
No, there really isn't. When you think about it, yeah. Fulci's great, man. And I think it is an acquire like a taste you got to acquire for some of his movies, but I definitely recommend. And a lot of them are on Shudder. So we'll move on to number 16. It's is this right?
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland, yeah. Not Spider-Man.
The other Tom Holland.
The other Tom Holland. He's a very good director. Psycho 2, was it?
Yeah, he wrote Psycho 2.
Yeah. Well, he's a very talented man. Isn't he making a sequel to something? Fright Night?
Fright Night, Child's Play, and yeah, this is a guy, like, I love this guy because he was really kind to me when Confession of Fred Krueger came out. That very first day, he posted about it, saying it was an awesome film and everyone should check it out. He loved it, and I wrote him to thank him, and he talked to me for a bit through Messenger, and just encouraged me and said, you need to keep doing this. And I sent him some other stuff that I'd done, and he said, you got it. You need to direct as much as you possibly can. And when I finally got to meet him at Horror Hound, I told him, it meant a lot. You really motivated me to keep doing it. And he goes, good. That's why I said it. Just keep going. So yeah, he's a sweetheart of a guy, and he's really supportive of horror. Like his website, his channel, he's supportive of everybody.
Yeah, he's a good director too.
Yes,
I've liked everything I've seen him do. Wow. I wonder if he's watching from the beginning. Way past that. Seth, you're a big fan of Tom Holland, I'm sure, decently. Not the Spider-Man. We know how you feel about that.
Yeah, Fright Night is pretty much my favorite vampire movie, period. And Child's Play is really great, and I'm a huge fan of Psycho 2. Even though he just wrote it, it was such a great script. But mostly for Fright Night, that's where I really love his work. I think he's got a good balance of comedy and horror with his work, and I hope he gets to make that Fright Night 2 that he wants to make.
Yeah, that would be really cool to see.
Yeah,
that would be pretty cool to see. All right, let's keep trucking. Unfortunately, because of my computer, we have to keep moving pretty fast. Seth, you lead this one off. It's a guy and your Uncle Frank. Yeah, it's a guy and your Uncle Frank.
Yeah, I love Clive Barker's work as an author and as a director. Hellraiser, Nightbreed, and Lord of Illusions are they're all equally awesome to me. I would say probably Hellraiser is my favorite of his that he's made.
Weird.
But it's really tough because Nightbreed, I'm a huge fan of that one too, but he's got such a distinct style of storytelling and characters, and he really goes into the taboo and really deals with, just, I don't know how to describe it, just, I don't know. He's good. I'll move.
Yeah, he's good.
He's good.
Yeah, he is. I really like a lot of his movies. And a lot. It goes beyond that because a lot of his movies based on his works aren't his. Like one of my favorites is Candyman. So I mean, he's a very talented person. I'm glad we had him do at least what Rawhead Rex. Did he direct that one?
Yeah,
I don't think he directed that.
He didn't direct it, but he was very close to it for sure. Yeah.
It's a shame he didn't do more films because his 3 films are very, like him himself, one of a kind. They're just
Strange and unusual.
just nothing like him, and that's really the mark of a real artist. Is like you can't compare him to anybody.
Yeah, I agree with that. Very odd stuff. Uh, by the way, one of
Same
my
with his
favorite
writing
things.
too.
What's that?
I'm sorry. I just said same with his writing too. If
Yeah.
you read any of his books or short stories, you know.
Okay, so next
Sorry.
up, no, you're good. Stanley Kubrick.
Yep.
God, I've seen so many of his movies. He's only done a handful, but of course, The Shining. Well, this is my favorite. Probably.
It's my favorite, and it's not his best film, but it's my favorite film. Like the only other one, like Clockwork Orange, is probably my second favorite.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But when you go back to his stuff like The Killing and Paths of Glory and Doctor Strangelove, he is again like a few others on our list, one of the 100 greatest. He's probably in the 50 top greatest or even higher. Just phenomenal. Like I'm just in awe of this guy's work. Everything he's done, really. The Shining's known as his lesser work, but I think that's more about the prejudice against horror in general. But he set out to make one of the most terrifying horror films because all of his contemporaries were making horror films like, De Palma and all that. And he just said, well, I'm going to make the ultimate horror movie. And really, The Shining's one of the scariest films I've ever seen, like in the top 5 scary films I've seen, in my opinion.
I'm trying to find a list of the greatest 100 just to kind of
Well, he's on it.
Yeah, actually, somebody made one.
2000,
he was the first
2001. Yeah.
Let's see.
2001 is probably considered his masterpiece, really.
Of course, yeah.
Hitchcock's number 1 on this, filmsite.org, and Scorsese. Spielberg, it's Francis Ford Coppola's number 5. Number 8.
But, with some horror fans, Stephen King didn't like this movie, so to them, Kubrick's a hack and a piece of shit.
Fincher's number 10, by the way. No, he's not. Yeah. He did his thing. He wasn't directing the book. He was directing a script, right?
Yeah, he was. So, he liked the story and he wanted to make it a movie. It's like basically he took it and made it his. That's what when Stanley Kubrick takes your book, Stephen, it's not going to be Stephen King's movie anymore. That's just kind of in general anyway. But when you have one of the great filmmakers, and I get why Stephen doesn't like it, and we talked about it before, but I feel fortunate that I have a great Stephen King novel and I have a great Stanley Kubrick film. So,
right,
I got 2 versions that I like.
And honestly, he could complain about a couple of other adaptations that raped his words way worse.
The guy that made.
I'm looking at you, Dark Tower.
The guy that made the Trucks adaptation. Holy shit!
He endorsed the Dark Tower.
Maybe he got paid to endorse it. Oh shit.
The Shining for me is pretty special because as I've told you guys before, like I'm not big on ghosts or paranormal stuff, but The Shining is the one example where it's one of the very few horror movies that actually affected me, period. I remember seeing it when it was edited for TV when I was a kid. This was a couple years, maybe a year before the TV remake came out. And it scared me, but I was really captivated at the same time. And it's a movie, for me, it still holds up every time I watch it. I'm like, man, I fucking love this movie. Or if I watch Dr. Sleep, I'm like, man, I fucking love The Shining. The Shining and Full Metal Jacket are my 2 favorite Kubrick movies, but I don't care that The Shining movie is different from the book. The book is good on its own, and it's definitely a good read. And as you guys are saying, this is a different beast. And I think I can't even fucking speak tonight. I think he made that story a little bit more cinematic than it would have been if he followed the book.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Stanley Kubrick, the filmmaker, would have even if he'd stuck to King's book, I don't think it would have felt like a Stanley Kubrick film, because that's not the kind of storyteller that Kubrick is.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't telling those close, personal tragedy of a man kind of story, the falling of a, like, that's not, his goal was to scare audiences, is what he was doing when he made this movie. Yeah. And he studied fear. He didn't just study the book, he studied what scares people. Visually, sound wise, there's sounds, and there's manipulation, there's camera trickery, there's deliberate things that he did in this movie that he learned from psychology, from like the study of fears, and that's what his goal was.
He did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
And what he did to Shelley.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one, which is Stuart Gordon, who did. What is this from?
Is that Reanimator?
Is that from Reanimator? I was looking at. I didn't look it up, but I was looking at. I was like, what is that from?
I don't know.
The doctor with his head gun.
Body's getting one of these. He got you.
Yeah, we did a whole episode on Stuart when he passed away.
Yeah, that was an early episode too.
Yeah, great filmmaker, really. Comes from theater. Of course, synonymous with H.P. Lovecraft's work.
Yes.
Reanimator's probably, Reanimator, and the one the people who haven't seen or don't talk about is King of the Ants, is one of my favorite horror films.
Yes.
And it's one of my favorite. It may be my favorite Stuart Gordon movie.
Great revenge movie.
Still haven't seen that. We talked about it so much whenever we did that episode, and around that episode, I never did get around to seeing that one.
I did get to meet him too, and he was just like I mentioned it. He came up to me and told me the Dolls cover I did was beautiful, and like he came to me. My daughter and I were standing in the line, and that means a lot, you know. When the filmmaker comes to you and hunts you down, who cares what the critics say?
Yeah. All right. So yeah, if you want to check out our episode on Stuart Gordon as we move on to the next one. How did you choose this film?
There weren't a lot of photos of him on set,
really?
like High Tension or Hills Have Eyes.
High Tension.
Yeah, I couldn't find any, so I thought, well, this is one. I mean, I love horns, and it's one of the overlooked movies. I think people forget about horns. I think people forget Aja did it. It was just wild because it's such a fucking good movie. I don't know why this movie isn't bigger than it is, but of course, I fell in love with Aja's work when I saw High Tension. It's still it's probably my favorite horror film of the last 20 years. I love the Hills Have Eyes remake. I liked the Piranha movie he did. I liked even though he didn't direct, I liked his the remake of Maniac that he produced.
That was good.
Yeah. I just he just did Oxygen, which I really, really liked.
Yeah,
came out last year.
I haven't seen anything I didn't like he did. The Hills Have Eyes remake was brilliant, like you said. And High Tension, boy, what a movie. The first time you ever watched that movie, it's not what you expect. I loved it. Did an episode on that. And Hills Have Eyes, actually. So we've talked about him a little bit.
We need to do horns just to get it spread out there.
The horn was really good. That was another movie that kind of just surprised me. I was like, Harry Potter. And that kind of knocked him out of that Harry Potter.
Written by Stephen King's son.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, Joe Hill.
Yeah.
I did not know that. All right. So we're running out of time here. So let's keep moving. Oh wow.
Small, huh?
Yeah. I look at all these on my computer, on my phone. But yeah. Anyway, so sorry. Good to see
James
you.
Well.
Yeah, James Whale. Frankenstein, The Bride of Frankenstein. One of Seth's favorite, The Invisible Man. The Old Dark House, the original, right?
That's what I was saying. Like when you talk about the old Universal horror and that era of horror, James Whale is the first fucking guy that comes to mind. He was the best, hands down. All of his movies are great. Like there's nobody in his league, in my opinion, at that time.
No, from that era, not at all.
He was on my list too.
He was on your list. He was on my list.
He was on mine. I think they're all. I think this was on all of us. Maybe Keith didn't have him on there, but Keith's the kiddo, right?
He doesn't know. Come on. I think he was pretty high on Seth. Wasn't he pretty high on your list, Seth?
Yeah, I believe so. Just because I haven't seen The Old Dark House, but like you said, I love The Invisible Man and I love his 2 Frankenstein films. I need to see more of his work.
The Old Dark House, you are really missing out, my friend. Nate, tell him.
Yeah, it's my favorite of his work. But the thing is, like, everything he's made could be my favorite because they're all so good. There's not a bad movie in that series of films that he did.
Yeah,
he's untouchable.
He is untouchable.
I think he's the only guy from that era that has made our list.
And he just missed the top 10 of this list. So here's number 10. I'm not even looking at the guys in this right now. All I see is Florence.
I had to get Florence in the picture. Yeah.
Of course you're not.
Yeah, I love her to death. She's like become one of my favorites.
Who's that nerd behind her?
Yeah,
That is Ari Aster, director of Midsummer and Hereditary, 2 of the best horror films ever made.
In the last 4 years now, I guess they're the 2 best movies of the last 5 years in horror. Period.
Yeah.
Don't argue with me. Midsummer is superb, and Hereditary has become like fastly one of my favorites. I fucking love that movie. It's so good. And like I said last week, something about the ending invokes a Rosemary's Baby's ending to me. I just loved it. I jaw on the floor when I saw Hereditary for the first time. Not because it was the scariest movie ever, people say.
And I don't know if any filmmaker has tackled grief and mental illness and depression and trauma and family like the way those 2 films have, like
all at once.
Oh my God, they're so emotionally exhaustive. Like both of them, like they're just. That's where the real horror is in these 2 films. Is how if you're not sitting there with a chip on your shoulder going, "Fuck elevated horror," and you're really invested in what you're seeing, like I just might, and just the performances alone that he gets out of these actors, out of Florence, out of Toni Collette, out of Alex Wolff, some of the best performances ever.
Yeah, my God, Toni Collette is a fucking icon, man. She is fantastic. Did we get that term elevated horror straight from Scream 5?
I think I've heard before that, but yeah.
That was the first time I heard. I love the term, honestly. I want to give it the respect. If
I was going to say, we've been talking about it for at least a week or 2.
Yeah, well, the Scream's been out for like almost a month. That's why I asked. I don't remember everything. But anyway, yeah, Midsummer and both Hereditary both made my top 50 favorites. And they're still pretty fucking new. Brand spanking new. Something.
He's working with Joaquin Phoenix, I believe, on his new one, which that's really exciting to know.
Say Joaquin Phoenix again. I like the way you say it.
Joaquin, right?
No, you said it right. It's just the way with your little twang. Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Formerly known as Leaf.
Yeah, Leaf.
Oh, shit. All right, yeah. So check if you haven't seen. I think Midsummer's on Amazon. It's 100% worth checking out. I think Seth. I'm sorry, I don't know. I know Keith loves this movie, Midsummer. I can't remember if you saw it or not, Seth.
Yeah, I saw Midsummer and I saw Hereditary. I think both are great. I don't understand why people bitch about them so much.
Because they're not elevated, bro.
Yeah. I mean, people just lose their heads over Hereditary.
I don't
They
get it
just-
either. All right. So next up is
They're
a guy
both dog shit.
I
They're both
believe-
dog shit.
is one of the best horror directors, current horror directors.
Mr.
Ever.
Flanagan.
Yes, he is so awesome.
Yes.
Everything I've seen, he has been just a chef's kiss from Flanagan.
He's a workhorse too.
Yeah, he
Man.
is.
This guy has made a shit ton of stuff in the last
Yeah, over
5
the
years.
last 5 or 6 years. Yeah.
But
He's-
3 series and lots of movies.
They talk about the Mount Rushmore of horror, and the current horror, he's on there, in my opinion. Maybe even of all time, he'll probably get there. But he's him and James Wan both, man. They're the best horror guys right now.
Going back to that Tarantino Eli Roth podcast, Quentin said that Mike's the best horror filmmaker today. He said the guy's just the best around. He was just really going on about him. Yeah, I think Hush was probably my first awakening to this guy's talent,
Yeah, same here.
Mm-hmm.
and then Gerald's Game,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just solidified with Doctor Sleep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dr.
And then he's
Sleep's
like,
one
I'm
of
gonna
my
bring
top
everybody that I had on my Netflix shows into my other shows.
Yeah.
I
I'm
mean,
gonna take Call the
obviously,
Koozie and
He's
my
got
wife
his-
into all my shows.
Yeah.
who's his wife? Oh, never mind. I know his wife is. Yeah, never mind. For some reason, I started thinking of the Carlo Gugino. I'm like, no, that can't be right. But yeah,
She
he's
wrote-
fantastic. Dr. Sleep solidified him as one of the best horror maestros around.
He even made Stephen King okay with Kubrick's movie now.
Yeah,
That
which was
movie.
awesome to see on screen. Wasn't that cool? That they
Oh,
went
yeah.
back? Man, that was so cool. We did an episode on Dr. Sleep last year. I think it was just me and Nate. It's on the YouTube. Go check it out and subscribe if you're ever watching. But yeah. Oh, and then I mean, one of the best of all time. Period. Alfred Hitchcock. He's made a few movies.
A couple.
Yeah.
Not a
I
lot of
forgot him
horror.
on my list too. What the hell?
Huh?
I forgot to put him on my list too. I just
You did?
realized I'm looking at my list compared to
He would have been
the
pretty.
master list.
He would have been
Huh.
pretty high if you had. But yeah, Psycho. What can I say? It's one of my all-time top 10 films.
in my top 50. Yeah,
It's just a perfect movie. It's even like if I was talking about my daughter has not seen The Shining, and she was pretty much telling me the whole story, even though she's never seen the movie. I said you can still appreciate it because I knew pretty much everything that happened in Psycho, but when I saw it the first time, I still loved it. I still marvel over it.
hmm it's Psycho. I'm the only one who likes the monologue at the end in his head, but there's nothing wrong with Psycho one bit at all. I mean, misdirection. You get comfortable with the character, and then she gets off, and then it's like, and not to mention what it did for horror in general. You know, I mean, look at Scream and all the references in Halloween. There's a Loomis. There's 3 Loomises because of this movie. You know.
And Scream, they killed off Drew Barrymore in the first 5 minutes because
Yeah.
of this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad. Hitchcock should be closer to number 1 instead of number 8. My bad, because he's, in my opinion, way better than the next one.
Rear Window is not necessarily a horror movie, but it's also a wonderful dialogue and suspense and observation. Birds is a horror movie, in my opinion, but I
It
mean,
is. Yeah,
we could
Birds
go.
is horror,
we've never
could
done a
go
Hitchcock
on and
episode,
on.
have we?
huh?
We've never done a Hitchcock episode. I think we've talked about Psycho, but
We've done Psycho, but that's it.
yeah,
Yeah.
Huh.
Not like an exhausted effort.
But a lot of his movies could register as horror, Dial In for Murder, or even like Strangers on a Train, or Rope, or there's a lot of psychopaths in his movies sometimes. So,
All right, getting close on time, so let's do this.
yeah.
Sam Raimi. We're going to be doing the Evil Dead trilogy next week, so we don't need to spend time. He looks like Robert Downey Jr. a little bit in that picture, doesn't he?
Just a baby.
Evil Ed
Such a
behind it.
handsome young man.
Looking forward to his next effort.
Another one of a kind guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When did he start wearing suits on set? After the 80s, I guess. Yeah, Sam Raimi.
And everybody thought he was a PA, and they kept sending him for coffee. And he's like, I gotta dress like a grown up.
He's kind of an innovator in horror, in my opinion.
Well. Even we talked about the Coens. If you watch Blood Simple, I don't know which is kind of a horror movie. Very influential of Sam Raimi, like their camera movements and like that, and he's even in Raising Arizona really echoed a lot of Sam Raimi because they
they did a lot of the fast ground camera movement.
Yeah. Joe was the editor on Evil Dead, I believe, the original Evil Dead.
All right, so sorry we got to move so fast.
Yeah.
Next one, and shut your fucking mouth. Jordan Peele's amazing.
Yeah.
He's number 6 on our list. I really love Get Out. I absolutely love Us way more than Get Out, believe it or not. It's so good, and people just need to shut up and enjoy his movies. That's my opinion. That's my opinion! From that gift.
Screenwriters Guild of America said this was the best screenplay of the last 20 years. I was with you. I really loved Us more, but the more I watch Get Out, it's a tie. I can't decide. I think
they're
both
so good.
Great. Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing, I guess, a full trailer for Nope. Next on Sunday. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Jordan Peele, and he like every time I watch like the Key and Peele show, I feel like me and him should have been friends at some point. I know that sounds stupid, but I like him and they're like on the road in the last season driving and talking to each other. I was like, this guy should be like one of my best friends, honestly. But I love his work. I can't wait to see more. I wish, no offense to Nia DaCosta or something like that, I wish he would have directed Candyman, the new Candyman. Because when I saw his name attached, I was like, yeah. But I like the Candyman movie, but I think he would have made a better movie, honestly. But yeah, shut the fuck up about Jordan Peele. He's awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if you saw his show, you know he was gonna do something good.
Oh yeah, because the show was very cinematic at times.
Yeah, for a skit show, Yeah.
I think that's where he learned. I think that's where he prepared for Get Out. But yeah, we got to move on, don't we?
Yeah. Toby Hooper, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Poltergeist. What's that one with the alligator?
Eaten Alive.
Yeah. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Yeah. He's not my favorite director, but because of Chainsaw alone and Poltergeist, he totally belongs in the top 10.
Yeah.
Chainsaw is a masterpiece.
Chainsaw, that's my number 3 on my list of top 50s. I know this is spoiler territory for my list, because everybody wants to watch the videos when I do them. But between that and Poltergeist, that number 10, I was like, I got to put Toby Hooper higher on my list because I love his movies in general, especially the horror efforts. He's great. Anybody else want to get in before I move on?
Watch his movie Gin. Just kidding. Do not.
His later efforts weren't so great. The best horror director right now. Am I wrong? James Wan.
Guy has 3 franchises under his belt.
Yeah.
In the horror
do
genre.
Anything.
Yeah.
He's shown it.
He's a good filmmaker. He knows what he's doing with that camera.
And he's doing superhero movies too, so he's got his hand in everything.
He can do anything. He made the Fast and the Furious movies look awesome. Not a fan. His Aquaman movie is fantastic, but The Conjuring, Insidious, even that one with the puppet. What was that one called? Dead Silence wasn't bad.
Oh no, Dead Silence, yeah.
And he seems like a really cool dude. I mean, there's like, I don't know whether there be any reason for people that hate him or anything. Like,
let's get him and Jordan Peele and we'll all hang out,
That's a funny story. There's a funny story. I was at Horror Hound one week, and we were going to dinner afterwards, a bunch of us, and my buddy Ken was like fucking with the waitress. She said, "You guys have been at that horror convention this weekend?" Yeah, and he said, "You know that movie, The Conjuring?" And she said, "Yeah." He goes, "This is a director," and he pointed at me, and she had no idea. She goes, "Really?" He goes, "He said, yeah." It's like, And they said, this is the actor. He's a star. You talk to him. And we had her totally believing it the whole time that we made The Conjuring, and I was James Wan.
You kind of look like James Wan. No. Just joking. James Wan's great, and Malignant was a fun movie. Not everybody liked that one, but I really enjoyed it. Something different.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I just bought that recently. Number 3. Now we're getting into the thick of the thick. George Romero.
Who?
Right.
Who is that hack?
Who is this dude? Nate mentioned the guy who's known for the zombie movie. He is the godfather of the zombie, the modern zombie, with Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead, of the Dead, of the Dead, of the Dead. I love George Romero. Who doesn't love George Romero? If you're a horror fan, you love him, right?
Another titan of independent filmmaking.
Yep.
Like we should all aspire to be George Romero. The guy just did what he wanted to do, and Dawn of the Dead is one of my top 10 horror films of all time.
Yep.
Yeah, I just love that movie so much. And he made a movie. I saw a movie long after his death at the amusement park last year. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think our very first Discourse show was about the Romero Dead movies. This was actually before you joined, I think, Nate. 2 episodes in, then Nate joined. And that was... So, yeah, Romero's fantastic. It was very upsetting when he passed away a couple years ago.
But just to add real quick, since we're all short on time, just watching Amusement Park after he passed on Shudder, it literally, it kind of brought a tear to my eye because, he's been gone for a while now. He hasn't done anything, but it was such a politically forward piece for the time and what's happening back then, but it's still happening now. For those that haven't seen it, Amusement Park is on Shudder.
For such a woke time, ageism is still a big deal right now.
Yeah, exactly.
No one's fighting for the elderly or let them die from COVID. We don't care. We want to party.
So the next 2 are Nate's parents. Filmmaking. We've got number 2 is Wes Craven, I believe. He told me that once. He's like, yeah, as far as filmmaking goes, Wes Craven's my dad and John Carpenter's my mom.
I said the other way.
Whatever, the other way.
Because John Carpenter's more of like all business guy, like the serious, like disciplinary guy, whereas Wes kind of is like the I don't know. I think he comes from another area, like more heart and thought and. Maybe I think he was probably. I think Wes was probably more like a parent than John Carpenter would be. I think John Carpenter's very. Yeah.
Well, I like Robert Englund.
Although we just give it away.
Well, I mean, it's good. I think it's obvious.
I think it's obvious. Yeah.
Yeah, but I like Robert Englund's description. He's like ready to meet the master of horror, and he sees this guy wearing a polo shirt and nice slacks and all. He didn't expect to see. Wes Craven. I put him on here on my list as number 2, I think. Maybe number 1 because of just straight up A Nightmare on Elm Street is probably one of the most influential horror film in my life. I was
gonna say he was in my top 5.
Yeah, this is Nightmare on Elm Street is my favorite movie that's horror of all time, and there's other ones that he's done that I've really liked as well. I mean, Scream. He's responsible for a lot when it comes to horror. Reinvigorating the whole genre in '96 with Scream, and then, I mean, turning it on its head in 1984.
I think our top 3 is kind of a universal. I think they would come up in the top 3 at anybody's list. Really.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, they kind of represent the genre as the top guys.
Mm-hmm. Seth, do you have anything? I know we're going to let you talk on the next one because Seth is obsessed with John Carpenter. I love Wes Craven. Very sad. He died of the same cancer my wife had, so that's kind of sad. But
glioblastoma.
Glioblastoma, yeah.
Yep.
Stage 4.
No.
Two of the greatest people ever. Moving on to number one is John Carpenter. As we said, it's obvious. I mean, look at that hair. First of all.
Well, what's funny is if you saw my dad at that time, that's what he looked like.
No shit. Well, so
No shit.
you were right then.
No
Your
shit.
mom looks just like Wes Craven, I'm guessing. No,
No.
I'm joking.
She looked like Allie Larder back then.
Oh, nice.
No, I don't. What's her name? No, not her. Is that who it is? Allie, the one from Love Story. What's her name? Allie, whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't Love Story. I don't know that one. Anyway, John Carpenter. We know what he's responsible for. One of the best movies of all time, according to most horror fans. Most horror fans identify as Halloween as the greatest horror film of all time. It's really great. Seth, Prince of Darkness is better than Halloween, in my opinion. But go ahead. Okay, let me go back.
Yeah.
The Thing is better than Halloween. How about that? The Thing is better than. It doesn't matter. You can make a list of John Carpenter movies, and any of them is a good answer for number one. The Thing, The Fog, Prince of Darkness,
Big Trouble in Little China.
not Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah.
Seth, come on, say something. Cut us off.
I gotta go, but Seth can take it away.
All right. Thanks, man. We'll see you
Good
next
night,
time.
Nate.
Later, guys.
See you, Nate. I have a video on our YouTube channel where I ranked the 23 movies and TV movies that he's done. I'm obviously a huge fan, just a tiny bit obsessed. I love his work. I love his storytelling. I love his attitude. I love how sort of unconventional his stories are. They don't really follow formula. The characters tend to usually kind of have some personality or attitude to them. His films, they look and they sound great. I'm just I'm a huge fan. In the Mouth of Madness is my favorite of Carpenter's work, and then after that is The Fog, and then I would go with The Thing and Halloween, which is it's not a popular answer because most people would put Halloween and The Thing as the top two of Carpenter's work.
1 and 2.
But I would argue that if I was to looking at the list I made, I would say the top 15 are all fantastic movies for the most part. Give or take. I don't know if exactly 15, but at least the top 10 are great.
So I've been talking about doing the live streams for my favorite 50 horror movies in order from 50 to 1. There are 4 John Carpenter movies on there. If that tells anybody anything, The Fog,
That is way too many.
Prince of Darkness, The Thing, and Halloween are all on that list.
That is way too fucking many.
Yeah, it's not too many. I like those movies quite a bit. Prince of Darkness is my favorite Carpenter movie. There's 5. And The Mouth of Madness is on there too.
Oh my God!
I like John Carpenter's movies.
You're literally gonna have a top 10 of your top 50 with John Carpenter now.
Oh, that's 5. I can't do a top 10 because I only like 6 of his movies. So no, he's a good director. I've seen plenty. I know what you're getting at. He loves
Honestly,
so much,
most of those would be in my top 50 also.
Yeah, I think my top 50 will surprise people. I left a few things like Alien out, first of all, is not in my top 50. So,
What?
I'm not a big fan of Alien. I'm sorry. I get it. I get why it's a great movie, but it's not one of my favorite. I'm talking favorite.
Oh yeah, this is your personal
If
fucking
I'm talking
list,
about
man.
top 50 greatest horror movies, that list is going to be completely. I'll make that next. I'll do that next. I won't do videos for it, but I'll make that list next of what I think are the greatest horror movies because it's still gonna be a nightmare.
You know what? I'm gonna do a top 50 list and cut it down to 15 and say this is my 50 list. Fuck you guys. This is my movie list. Fuck all your faces.
I wonder if my computer is gonna act up next week. So for those of you that hung out, thank you very much.
Oh shit, we're still alive.
Yeah, hopefully next week I won't have any difficulties with my computer. I had a lot of problems with it today, and it's still not running right. I gotta work on that. Next week we are going to do another series of movies. We're going to be talking about the Evil Dead trilogy, and we'll be back at 7:30 Eastern time next week, and then the following week we'll be talking about the new Texas Chainsaw. For anybody who has Netflix, that drops on the 18th.
Yes.
And
That's
I'm
the show I'm
reserving,
looking forward to.
I'm reserving judgment. I'm excited to see it, and then cancel Netflix right after it's over. So, because Netflix got to go, especially since there's a Godfather show coming on Paramount Plus, and I want to watch that. So, did you hear about this? The Offer. It's about the making of how they got Godfather made. Looks cool, even though it has Miles Teller, who needs a good punch in the face. And
He's already gotten scars all over his face. Why do you want to punch him more?
give him more. I hate the guy. Anyway, thanks for coming out. Have a great evening. Watch some horror. Watch the Evil Dead movies this week if you can. I will be watching them. I think I'm gonna watch 7 tonight. I'm in the mood. I haven't watched it in a long time. For now, I'm gonna go get my kids ready for bed, and we'll see you next week. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and come back for more, please.